listening to the Pittsburgh Piledriver Podcast.
All right, look, this is a dire time for all of us. It's almost mid-January. Doomsday is close to upon us, which means the following. We're going to get into some sort of war with Canada, Greenland. We're trying to take the Panama Canal back, so we're probably going to wind up in a war with Mexico. That means Tom's going to be the first one drafted because he's former military and he's in the best shape. If shit starts to hit the fan, I'm second. So that leaves you with Poot and Beef. We'll be the ones holding down the Pittsburgh Piledriver Podcast, while Tom and I are attempting to deliver freedom to Canada and or to Greenland too. Like, do they not have freedom? I don't understand how that works. But in any case, you'll be left with Boot. You'll be left with Boot, the fusion combination of Beef and Poot. Now, here's where it gets worrisome. If at some point they come on the show and say, listen, guys, one or both of us have been drafted, so we're going to have to put the Pittsburgh Piledriver Podcast on hiatus, bend over, and kiss it goodbye. Because if we're drafting Peef or Boot, whatever fusion dance combination they did, or if it's the Patara earrings that they fused with, if the United States military is drafting Pete or Boof, bend over and kiss it goodbye. We're all done. We have risked too much. The Dungeon Master has pulled out all the stops. Jag is here with the unstoppable scythe of destiny. It's over. So, we're going to look on the brighter side of things. We're going to pretend that that's not going to happen. We're not going to need to draft Tiger Bomb Tom. We're not going to have to draft Ransom. The fusion dance of Boof and Pete. Whatever, Pete and Pete. Majin Boof, Majin Beef. Everybody will be fine. So, look, we're going to try to roll a D10 here. Perfect 10, epic win. It's quite possible we could roll a 0, which is an epic failure, which means at some point the fusion of Beef and Poot isn't going to wind up as just like a normal fusion. It's going to wind up turning them both into like a two-headed Godzilla. We're all dead, breathing fire. Cats and dogs sleeping with each other. It's pandemonium. Let's try to ease our minds into thinking that Doomsday is not just around the corner by talking about wrestling. And what better way to talk about wrestling than with the jagoffs that frequently come to your ear hole via this podcast. You know who we are. You know what we do. We're all here tonight. It's the quad face buttercream. Quad damage. Haste. So let's go. We had a historic Monday Night Raw on Netflix. There was no buffering. The Rock didn't have to go Squid Game on anybody. It was wonderful. Some stuff happened. Some wrestling took place. A legend or two may have been booed. We have a lot to unpack from WWE and Netflix's version of Monday Night Raw. There's probably some other stuff we have to talk about too. So let's just go ahead and kick it off. And get right to it. We don't have stats. We don't have numbers. We don't have our bright sun-shining star of a Cruiserweight champion, Beef the Legend, is reigning supreme over us, raining down his life-giving light upon us. Everything is good.
Speak for yourself.
How about...
I've got
what
numbers.
Do you mean speak for myself?
I just want to say...
I've got numbers.
I just want to say...
Numbers of what?
I just want to say that the fact that, like, my favorite role-playing character of all time that I've ever made lives rent-free in your head to this day
Yep.
tells me I've done everything right as a storyteller. Go ahead, Tom.
He sure does.
No, never mind. I'm not going to
Groot?
go on that tear. You're right,
Groot?
Beef. You're right.
Groot?
You're right, Beef. You're right.
That's
You're
right.
right, Pete. You're right, Beef. I'm not going to go ahead and argue that because it would be a Pyrrhic victory at best.
Peef and Boot. All right.
Yeah,
What
Beef
What
and
numbers
Boot,
do you
that's
have,
us.
Tom?
Anybody want to take a guess at what the global audience numbers were for Netflix for live and next day?
5
No idea.
million.
Anybody
7.
else?
I'm going to say 6.8.
17.
I saw the numbers.
Well, god damn it, Beef, you're no fun. Actually, it wasn't. It was almost 5. It was 4.
It was like 4. Yeah, it was like 4.9.
Now everybody except Beef. So you other two jamokes. Anybody want to guess
about Beef?
how much
what
how
about
much
Beef?
of that?
A beef guess?
No version of Beef should give this answer. Anybody want to guess how much of that was just in the U.S.?
No. 7.
I'm gonna guess 750,000 because it's gonna be dramatically less.
No, 2.6 mil. So
Dang.
if you hear anybody making any sort of declarations of like this was one of the most important shows that they've had, or like the biggest Monday Night Raw, like the numbers do back up. Oh my. The numbers do back up the hype. It was the biggest Raw, at least in like the last 5 years, at least.
And to cradle the number a little bit, I don't think that includes. That's right. I don't think that includes India yet. I think India is still on the network or Peacock or something, and WWE is huge in India, and I'm pretty sure that they're not on Netflix yet there. So the fact that you're taking like that, like subcontinent out of the fucking rotation makes it even bigger.
So
Girl,
with
please.
I'm gonna give a hot take on that with those numbers, which is fantastic. I'm glad they had it. It's just a shame that many people got such a wet fart of a Raw. Like it wasn't the word. Listen. I need you to be objective right now. I don't need you to go into your 7th octave. Okay, I need you to be objective here. Be objective here. Be objective.
Mm-hmm.
Listen,
Say it again.
there was nothing to write home about this Raw. I understand that we got Seth Rollins Punk. That was above mid, but it was getting close.
Yeah.
It was above mid, but it was getting close. Solo Roman, great storytelling, a lot of fun. When Kevin Owens came out, I was just like, it was great. Those two things. One above mid, one. That's what the Roman Solo thing. That's what the whole show should have been. Fucking The Rock coming out there. It should have just been Triple H straight into the action. The Rock should not have fucking yammered his mouth off. And Hulk Hogan, it was delicious, the boos. It was so good. It was so good to hear those boos to Hogan and see the look on his face. And I was like, oh, he knew. And he's trying to spin it into, well, if they boo about you, they still care. No, I don't think they do. I think that was go away heat. I'm getting off track. My point was, this Raw, if it were to air the way that Raw has been traditionally airing for history in memoriam, we would have been, okay, it was a Monday Night Raw. That's what we would have done. We would have been like, okay, it was a Raw. Like, we would have.
I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong because, and you know that I'm very much against like the old guys running the show. I think we had 3 pretty quality matches. One would call them WrestleMania quality matches.
At the very least, PLE matches. I'll give you that.
Right. The fact that they had 3 big matches that went, and I'm going to say clean, with the understanding that the Roman Solo was a big fucking schmoz, but fun as fuck. Like, the fact that we got 3 quality matches like that with quality results. The fact that we had spots from The Rock, who is, yes, a on the board of TKO, the final boss.
Meh.
But also the greatest of all time. I will not be taking questions on that. The Undertaker making a surprise appearance to give a rub to Rhea Ripley. John Cena, who I think probably went a little bit long, but again, this is it, man. That was the kickoff to the year of Cena. Let him do it his way.
Okay.
And yes, I agree. The Hogan bit was not needed, but all of like 10 minutes. I don't have a problem with the way that the show ran. I think it was from the start. I think it was a very unique start from anything they've ever done before. They've finally embraced the entertainment aspect and dropped any hint of it being a real sport, so that Triple H can be like, listen, face, heel, shoot, work. We're not real, but we want you to enjoy us anyway. And by God, if that's not the fucking attitude that they should have.
Yep.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you.
I think you're off base with the matches, man. I think yes, like absolutely, like Punk and Seth gave everything that they had, and it was very apparent at the end of the match that they were both spent, but for a good reason. And again, yes, Roman and Solo was a schmoz, but I think we all kind of expected that, and Rhea and Liv lived up to what it should have been, and the right person won. I just don't see, like, I'm normally the guy that can find contention in anything and can take something that was perfect and go, yeah, but, and like, I see your perceived flaws, I do, but also I think as wrestling fans, we need to appreciate that it was a global thing. I want to see how it's going to go next week and the week after. I think that's going to be the determining factor.
I understand that, and I'm with you on that. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see what this era was. Triple H dropping all pretense of what it is. I will agree with you on those things. I am. And I'm not saying anything bad about Rhea and Liv. That was great. I know it was a schmoz, but I feel like that's it adds to the gravitas, man. It adds to the hype. It adds to all those things. It just does. Like, having that higher drama. Not high drama, but
is your problem the fact that The Rock came out and basically NWO'd it and said we're done? Like, these angles that I've been building the last year are over? Is that kind of where your problem lies?
I will get there. Okay. I will get there. My problem was the flow of the show felt off. Now again, it could just be trying to fit into that new pair of jeans. Okay, maybe I'm being off base about that. I'm not saying the show was bad. I sat there the whole time and I fucking watched it. I was sick on Monday. I stayed home. I slept all day. And by the evening, I felt human enough that I was like, okay, we can stay up and watch this. This is history. We need to watch this. Haven't seen it come out and go, okay, this is the final run. Let's go. Let's make it happen. Let's do the thing. Cool. Seeing the end of an era, seeing the end of having someone come out and get to do it their way. That's pretty boss. I'm not gonna do it because a lot of professional wrestlers do not get that. They do not get the luxury of that. And so it's nice to see that happening. It's nice to see a wrestler, even though it is Cena and he can pretty much do whatever he wants. It's nice to see someone have the ability to go out there and do that. I will say that. However, I'm just saying that this, at best, was a mid-Raw. It was a mid-Raw. I understand when I said wet fart, that was a little bit of conjecture. Okay, sue me. But like, it was mid. It was not, the beginning had the pageantry with Triple H and like had all that stuff. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then it just kind of was like a mediocre Raw after that. Like, it just was. And nothing about it felt super special. I felt like there were, like, a metric fuck ton of commercial breaks. Maybe that was just me searching for something that was not okay. I will say this. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I like the addition of the drone shots. That's kind of cool. Yes. I like the drones on the outside doing the logos and stuff like that. That was kind of dope. Like, these...
That may have been specifically for that particular stadium arena event. I'm not 100% sure on that, but we'll see.
I still hope at least the drone camera shots of the show like stick around. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like the more minimalistic set. I like that. Maybe again that was just for the arena, but I like a minimalistic set.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that if this was any other week, we'd be like, this Raw was mid, except for these little highlights. The other thing is too, apparently,
like which is weird to me. If you okay, let me say this.
But the one last problem. I have one last thing.
Yeah.
The last thing I have is that apparently Penta's debut was cut because of time constraints. That was my problem. And they kind of it was just brushed off. And I understand the beef's like, there it is. That's the problem. Like, that's not the problem. It bothered me. But we got Hogan. We got Hogan and Jimmy Hart, though. Thank fucking God. The Rock got to yammer and murder a storyline. Oh, boy.
Let me ask you this. Would you rather have Penta have a successful singles debut or be in a match with Rey Mysterio in a tag team and be stuck with Rey Mysterio the next 9 years of his life?
Nothing against Chad Gable, but oh boy, Penta's going to come in and squash Chad Gable. Boy, that really gives him a lot of gravitas.
Bro, everything Rey touches turns to fucking dirt, with the exception of Dom.
You hate Rey Mysterio, though.
I don't. I love Rey Mysterio. I was a huge Rey Mysterio Jr. fan back in the day. I have zero issue with Rey Mysterio. The issue I have is that everything he's touched as of late has been crap. So, like, I want Penta away from him because we're past the Vince McMahon days of, well, he's Mexican and he's Mexican, so they got to be friends, right? No! Let's have Penta come out and fucking stand on his own. Penta has not had a chance to stand on his own 2 feet in fucking like 5 years because Tony Khan is like, well, he's Mexican and his brother's Mexican. Let's make him a tag team. No, Tony! These are 2 of the best individual superstars on the planet that you have squandered the last 5 years. You money mark. Okay, so I hear that complaint, Poot, and I get it. I was hyped for Penta's debut on the debut show as well. I also did not want it like hemmed in. I didn't want it just pushed in there just to feel because. Same with the women's Intercontinental title match. The fact that it was moved, I was like, that's a bummer. But I like the fact that they recognize that these ladies deserve their own spotlight, and I'm here for that. The first episode was about getting eyes, and as Tom pointed out, it did that. Second episode and beyond is about retaining those eyes. So I think I understand what you're saying. What they needed was a WrestleMania style show, which I think that they pulled off. Ransom, what did you think about the premiere?
So I didn't think that it was a wet fart. I didn't go into this expecting a PLE. Like, I went into this being like, hey, I get to watch a Raw because I have Netflix. That's going to be neat. I can understand the whole, like, well, if it was any other Raw, it would be mid-card at best, blah, blah, blah. Well, sure. But it wasn't any other Raw. It was a debut on a new platform. And kind of like Beef and Tom said, like the numbers speak for themselves. They wanted to do some big things to get some eyes. Kicking off a John Cena Farewell 2025 tour, that's going to get some eyes. Having The Rock come out, whether he wrestles or not, despite how much I hate that stupid pretend belt, that's going to get some eyes. The matches I thought were very good matches. The crowning of the only tribal chief, if that's, I'm not closed-minded to it. Like where this storyline goes, if Solo falls in line, we'll see where that goes. If there's still a feud there, we'll see where that goes. But I mean, it was what it was. It was Solo versus Roman. The Ulufala went back to Roman. Paul Heyman was there. Great faces as always. Fine with it. Rhea Liv, I thought was great. I thought it was really awesome that with all this other pageantry going on, they had Rhea Ripley win the women's world title. Like, that was neat because that was A, the only women's match, B, the only match where a title changed hands and it went to Rhea. Great. Like, completely happy with that. I think that shined a very nice spotlight on both Rhea and Liv, and of course the right person in all of our eyes won that. Perfectly happy with that. Undertaker coming out, like, how I can see, like, oh, it's the Undertaker. We've seen the Undertaker to death. He's so old. Fine, not disagreeing. However, you tell me what wrestler who is currently wrestling right now, after having won a title, wouldn't want the Undertaker to come out to do the Undertaker pose with you. Tell me what wrestler would be like, you know what? I'm good. I don't need that. Bullshit. If any say, nah, I don't need that, then you are clearly outside of the knowledge base of what it means to get a very important rub by one of the greatest legends of all time. Like the shot where they had their fists in the air and then they both looked over their shoulder back at the camera, like the classic Undertaker thing. For that to happen to Rhea, like what an acknowledgement. It was less about the Undertaker and more about Rhea Ripley. What an acknowledgement of Rhea Ripley for the Undertaker to come out and like do this side by side. The only other person the Undertaker ever did that with was Kane in the Brothers of Destruction. Now he does it with Rhea. What a rub. Like, that is clearly a passing of the badass torch. I mean, Punk and Seth, again, yeah, they were blown by the end. Who wouldn't have been? I thought that was a great match. Like, it was clean, it was crisp, it was great start to finish. Punk having that jacket on coming out. The same jacket that he wore his last time he appeared on AEW. Whoops. I mean, clearly Punk has no fucks. Gives no fucks about
I'll put a pin in that. I want to put a bookmark in that and come back to it, but go ahead.
That's fine. That was kind of a neat, like a neat little shot, to see this, same jacket he wore leaving AEW as he was. I was here for it. Like, I saw it and I went, oh, I get what you're doing. I see it. Hogan getting booed was phenomenal. Like, send him off. We don't need you here anymore, brother.
My favorite part. That doesn't work for me, brother.
Yeah, that was wonderful. The Rock is on the board of TKO. It's no surprise that he came out and got mic time. I would have been surprised if he didn't, to be honest, because, like, let's face it, when you're on the board of TKO and you've got as much stock as he's got at this point, it's like, yeah, man, he's gonna.
Can I pause you right there for a minute, though? Like, I think it's beyond that, because here's the thing. He's the biggest fucking star in the world.
Yeah.
He makes a lot of fucking money. His hand is literally in everything.
Yeah.
This is more than just a board member showing up and say, and I get it. None of us want The Rock to show up at WrestleMania to take a payday away from the current guy. And none of us like the stupid fake title that basically became a vehicle for the Ollie induction, which pissed everybody off. I get all of that. But the wider scope is like this dude right now is like the biggest star on the planet.
Yeah.
Synonymous with like Disney, synonymous with like action, like old wrestling heads know him. Like the fucking person walking down the street goes, "That's Dwayne The Rock Johnson." That's why you have him on there. Go ahead, Ransom.
Yeah. So, I had no problems with it. It wasn't your classic Raw, but that's okay. I don't think it was supposed to be. I think it was supposed to be an introduction, more of a promotion of Raw coming onto Netflix.
Roddy.
And then next week, it's back to business. Like this, I think was like, it was to get people's taste buds percolating. I don't think it was meant to be a classic Raw, so I'm okay with that. As far as matches being bumped, the Women's Intercontinental title match, I would rather have that bumped to a show where it has the time to be what it needs to be, as opposed to them trying to rush that into this show and having them be in the ring for a cup of coffee. Yeah, they make it on the debut Raw on Netflix, but are they really showcasing their ability to wrestle and to entertain if they are neutered to a very small time slot? No, that does them no benefit. So bumping them, fine with that. Penta, again, do we want him A, hamstrung into a tight time slot for a debut, and B, why on earth they would ever have somebody with the clout of Penta debut and tag with Rey Mysterio? Ooh, my debut match, I get to tag with this random luchador in WWE. Neat. Like, yeah, Rey Mysterio is a legend, Hall of Famer, whatever. But, like, shouldn't your debut, first time ever in WWE, be a bigger deal than you thrown together in a random tag match? If you were coming in as a tag team, that's a different story. You're a tag team. You're both debuting. Okay. But, like, you're coming in as a singles wrestler. Why on earth are you being thrown into this random-ass tag match? I don't think that does anything for him. I think that's a detriment because I think in the eyes of the smart wrestling fans, they're going to look at that and go, okay, this is what they're going to do with Penta. They're going to just start slapping him into random tag matches or shove him into the LWO. Great. Super excited about that. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my take on it. Like, A, keep him as far away from the LWO as humanly possible.
Preach.
B, keep him away from random-ass tag matches as, like, his primary function. He shouldn't be. His primary function should be a singles wrestler. If his brother comes over and they're going to do tag stuff then, okay, fine. But for the time being, put him in some singles competitions, highlight him as a singles wrestler, show off him. Like Penta, show him off. Don't try to show him off in a tag match where he's going to be standing on the ring ropes waiting for a tag on his debut match. There's no fire in that. Like, he's in the ring the whole time. It's a singles match, one-on-one. He's in the ring, showing off his ability. He's not standing around in a rest hold waiting to be tagged in. So, no. I have no problem with them bumping those two. I thought it was a perfectly passable, perfectly acceptable Raw. I think it did what it needed to do as far as advertising. It clearly got the numbers. I think this was a very good kickoff to what the Netflix era of Raw is going to be. And I think in the coming weeks, you'll see less random promo stuff, less fluff, less legends, less retirees, more, active competitors, more matches. I think we're back to business in the coming weeks. I think this one was just something a little different, but perfectly acceptable.
I want to hear Tom.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tom's been way more patient than I've been. So go ahead, Tom.
So, I overall enjoyed Raw, and same with NXT. I'm gonna lump the two together because The Rock was on both shows, and it kind of ties together. I enjoyed both shows, but there are definitely some things I could pick apart. I had a slightly different perspective with the whole Rhea and Undertaker thing. I understand the rub. Like, don't get me wrong, I get it. But you also have to think of the new audience that you have and people that maybe hadn't watched wrestling in a long time, and yes, there are still quote-unquote casual fans out there. There are people that were like, oh yeah, isn't that moving to a new channel? Is it going to Hulu? Is that what's it doing? There's going to be people that still tune in next week to USA and go, where's my show? Now granted, it's probably older generation, but I'll give you an example of a different perspective. As I was watching / dozing off because I was in a NyQuil-induced state Monday night, my wife said to me at the end of the women's title match, she's like, well, that kind of sucks. That took away her moment. And I'm like, yes and no. I'm like, yeah, it kind of did, but the Undertaker's a big deal, and so it's kind of it gives a little nod to her that she's badass or whatever, like Ransom said. I just wish it wasn't like it felt very forced. It was there for reasons, just because. And I don't.
I don't think she knew that was coming though. Like, she seemed pretty surprised by that, and like, if that's the case, she was fucking elated.
Well, I mean, if that was for her, and it wasn't known that was gonna happen, okay, cool. I mean, but like, how do I want to say this? It's the same. And I'm gonna use this term because you're gonna hear me use it a lot because I try to focus on this a lot. The psychology of it is like violence for the sake of violence. It's like doing this surprise spot for the sake of doing a surprise spot. Like, we already had a lot of jam-packed stuff going on. It just felt forced. I mean, it was cool. It was good to see him. And it was good to see them share that moment. I can appreciate that. I can appreciate the rub. But again, it just felt forced. The matches I had no problem with, except for the outcome of the main event, because I feel like Seth had way more to lose than what Punk did. I feel like Seth needed that victory more than what Punk did, because if you look at it long term and everything like that, Seth's whole modus operandum was, you went away and you left, and then you badmouthed this company, and I held things together and this and that, and you shat all over this place, and then you came back and just expect everybody to welcome you back with open arms and this and that. And it's like, okay, yeah, you know what? All is true. Guess what? I still beat you. So now whoever and whatever they do with Punk moving on, they really can't go to that well anymore. Can't go to that whole, well, you left, wah. Like, that's gone. So now you gotta figure something else out. Say it, because he did it with, it was Drew's same thing, and it's Seth's same thing. So there's that. But I digress. That was the one outcome that I had a discrepancy with. The one big problem I had to do with The Rock. And it wasn't just the whole, like, oh, now I'm chasing the hug and we're just going to throw away this entire last year of storyline stuff because whatever. Like, it had to do more so with the representation of your WWE Undisputed Universal Champion sitting in the front row like a fanboy, and Rock trying to, oh, I'm gonna give you your flowers, but then at the end, oh hey, tell Mama Rhodes I said hi. Like, get the fuck out of here, Rock. You had to do it just because. Like, the perception of any smart wrestling fan, or anybody that doesn't know any better, like, you didn't see Cody. He didn't have the belt out there with him, so there was no representation of that. The most representation you had from your other men's world heavyweight champion was a slight little vignette thing.
Fucking vignette, yeah. That's my problem.
So there was that. There was a lack of representation there. But like, don't get me wrong. It was cool to see, some of the other wrestlers that aren't normally on Raw. And I know there's this whole portal period and everything, but I'm gonna say normally over the last, we'll say 6 months or more, that weren't normally featured on Raw regularly. It was cool to see them, like seeing LA Knight sitting there and stuff like that. But do you mean to tell me that Cody's on the same level as LA Knight as importance or perception of, like, the face of your company, the champion? Like, Rock even said it. Hey, he carried it. He's put this company on his shoulders for the last year. Well, good. Why don't you say that to him side by side in the ring instead of, like, talking down to him like he's, like, out in the crowd like some fucking commonplace fan? Like, and then the only other representation you had from your WWE champion was a run-in in the Bloodline match. Like, that bothered me. That rubbed me the wrong way. I feel like, hold on.
I have a retort on this when you're done.
I feel like that's a disservice to Cody. And then Rock addressed that the next night on NXT. He comes out at the end, which I will say I was waiting, and I'm so glad they didn't do it this way. At the end, whenever you had, and spoilers, I'm going to, if you haven't watched NXT or you don't already know, spoiler alert, new champions, both Obafemi and Julia, standing up on the stage, sharing that moment, like, and it says behind them, and new champions. I was waiting for fucking Rock's stupid music to come on. Thankfully, they didn't do that. Thankfully, he didn't interrupt that moment. They went to a commercial break. They came back. He had, like, the last, like, 10 minutes, because it was, like, 6 minutes of talking and, like, 4 minutes of his stupid entrance. All right, so he comes out and basically addresses the crowd and says, for like the last year at this time, everybody was saying, oh, you can't be so mean to Cody. He's got to finish the story. He's like, and now people were saying, well, you can't, be nice to him and drink tequila with him. And he's like, oh man, will you guys just enjoy the ride that I'm taking you on? And I'm like, okay, there's a difference between enjoying the ride, but also connecting the dots. And not just throwing shit away. Like, if we come back around to it, and this is a long con, and Rock is ultimately a heel as the final boss, like he was last year, and this is just all kind of like a ruse at the moment, all well and fine. I'm fine with that. But if we don't come back to some sort of resolution between Rock and Cody or Rock and Roman or whatever, then the whole him coming out and having that handshake with Cody, handing him whatever, pissed away. Because don't think for a second that people have forgotten about that, because we haven't. Like, you cannot insult the intelligence of your fan base and your audience. So there's that one point. Him coming out at Bad Blood and doing the stupid throat slit. There was no reason for that, unless it's going to pay off. So if it is, that's fine. But we're allowed to express that, and we're allowed to be curious, and we're allowed to say, okay, so make it make sense for us. Why are you all of a sudden, over the top, chasing the hug baby face, coming off that way? Like, it's almost too much. It's almost too curious. So we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, again, if it pans out in the end, great. And that's the only way that I want to see his involvement. I don't want to see that stupid fucking title, that fucking pretend championship that he has, I don't need to ever see that again. But don't sit there and insult the intelligence of your audience, saying, well, you guys booed me, and you had a problem with me as a heel, and now you have a problem with me as a face. Well, yeah, we have a problem with disjointed storylines or throwing fucking storyline points that were planted as seeds for over the last 6 months plus, all of a sudden just kind of seemingly pissed away in one segment or two segments with his appearance on NXT. That's the problem I had with that. Otherwise, I enjoyed both shows, but again, if we're gonna have the final boss around or whatever, we need some sort of payoff either between him and Cody, him and Roman, or something. And man, fucking that just the lack of respect for Cody. Like Cody deserved to be able to come out as the face of your company and as the man who carried the company on the back for the last year as your WWE Universal Champion. Like, he deserved to come out and have the whole arena give him the woe and everything like that. Like, you could have had Triple H kick off the show like normal. That was fine.
He's not the champion of the show, though.
It doesn't matter.
Ransom, I want to hear your rebuttal about because I think that kind of feeds in here too.
So, you classify me as a smart wrestling fan or not? At this point, I don't know. Picks say different. We'll just leave it at that. If you're going off of picks numbers, I ain't no smart wrestling fan. But I had no problem with Gunther not being on the show, and I had no problem with the little appearance that Cody had. Like, I think the acknowledgement of Cody's work was honestly not necessary, but nice that it happened. It's not necessary because Cody's not on Raw. So to come out and acknowledge the WWE champion that's not on Raw, unnecessary, in my opinion, but nice that it happened. I'm not saying that I wish it hadn't. I'm saying that, like, giving Cody what they gave him here was nice, especially from, I don't think The Rock at that time, at least to me, it didn't come off like he was speaking to him as the final boss. It came off as like Dwayne Johnson, board member of TKO, thanking an employee for doing such a tremendous job. That's how that came off to me. If it was meant to be different, I took it different. But I saw it as, here's a board member acknowledging the hard work of an employee in front of this audience. That's pretty nice. As far as the Mama Rhodes thing, like, I had no qualms about that. That was kind of like a little, jokey, fun, haha moment. Cody laughed, I laughed, we all laughed, the toaster laughed, it tried to kill me, whatever. But as far as not having either men's belts on the show, what that did for me was that, not exemplified, that elaborated? I don't know. No. That personified, I think, the importance of the only belt to be featured on that show, which was the Women's World Championship. I thought that was pretty neat, that Gunther wasn't out parading a belt, Cody wasn't out parading a belt, Rhea and Liv were the only ones out there with a world title. And I think that kind of showed a little bit of a spotlight on them, where, like, they're actually wrestling. So you don't need to parade Gunther out with his title. Everybody knows he's got it. Like, he'll wrestle for it. We've seen him on a Raw with it before. It's fine. But, like,
right, okay,
they
hold on,
spotlighted.
We have, but again, I want to draw this point because I think this is a great point by Tom. The whole the other 2.5 million eyes came from around the world, and yes, probably some of them were WWE fans, but I think they probably picked up a lot of eyes that may not have that knowledge, and maybe some casual eyes.
So you said they did a promo for Gunther, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but here's the thing, man. I can't, in good conscience, sit here and lambaste AEW 1 week for having their title carried around in a briefcase, and then not give WWE the business. I agree. I think it's really cool that Rhea and Liv had that spotlight, and it brought an importance to the night. But at the same time, I think that you should have had your main Raw champion represented. This is the guy that you're going to see every Monday night coming out and defending his title. Even if he's not going to be defending the title every night, you want to make that I don't want to say assumption. You want to make that fascination. I want to see this big German dude get his ass kicked. That's the old Carney way. Same with Breaker. I think they had Breaker in the crowd, but I don't think he had his title.
Nope.
Did he have his title on him?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
So again, that's the other thing. This is, a second generation stud. Wrestling's in his blood. He's a champion. We want to see who can take the title from him. I think they did a good job of making it a WrestleMania-like spectacle. I think they could have gone the next rung higher and showed off the Raw champions, because I think that is, or the Raw championships, because I think it's important that, again, if you're having casual eyes, and I think that they knew that they would, but if you're going to have people that may not necessarily tune in, you want them to start identifying. Same with the Viking Raiders. You want to make sure that they have the recognition. Sorry, that took a minute. That okay, this person's important because he's got a belt. And I agree, it's cool that the women that kind of built their moment up. That was neat.
Right.
But also, how do they fucking cut to the crowd and show off Daniel Fishel, but then not give a fucking nameplate to Will Friedel? Fucking Eric Matthews. What the fuck are you doing, WWE, you sons of bitches? Give Eric Matthews his flowers, you fucks.
Real quick.
From Boy Meets World.
Who cares?
So
I fucking care.
It hasn't been relevant for decades.
Okay, so to Ransom's point about Rock giving Cody acknowledgement, it was more so that it felt like it was disingenuous, and the reason I say that is because of, and I forgot to bring it up initially, was that he did essentially the same thing to Ethan Page the next night on NXT. Ethan Page looked more important than Cody did. Take that in for a second.
He sure did.
Now hold on.
If you didn't
watch it, go back and watch. There was a backstage segment with Ethan Page talking to Ava, and then Rock comes in, and they have a whole dialogue back and forth, and he's like, yeah, I'm the final boss, and if you need anything, you come to me. He's like, but when it comes to, NXT around here, she's the final boss, so you got to be cool with her if you're going to be cool with me. He's like, are we cool? He's like, yeah, we're cool. And you felt like the semi-uncomfortable tension there, but the respect, and it was all well and fine. As soon as Ethan Page gets off camera, Rock smacks him on the ass and says, get your sweet ass out of here. Completely just throws away the credibility in my eyes. You could say, oh, it's The Rock being The Rock, but you have to remember, for people that don't know any better, those are the people that you have to convince.
So what would they have thought in that instance then?
No, man, I think that was a star-making moment from Ethan Page. The minute, from start to finish, including the "now get your sweet ass out of here," that told me that this member of TKO is this dude is fire.
Yeah,
he's going to be gone. Like he needs to lose to Javon Evans, and he's going to be probably in the Royal Rumble, if we're being honest.
Well, look, don't get me wrong. That could be Rock's seal of approval, and in Rock's own way, that could have been him giving him his rubber stamp of approval or whatever. But again, it's the perception to someone who might not know better, and the whole reason for all of this whole big shift to Netflix was so you could grow your audience. Because let's be honest, if they stayed on the USA Network, for eons and eons and eons, WWE was not gonna grow. Like you get a global audience going to Netflix. So again, you have to take into consideration that you have people that aren't quote unquote smartened up. You have
what perception?
The perception that that not knowing that that is Rock giving him a seal of approval. It seemed like the whole him shaking his hand and giving him respect felt completely disingenuous as soon as he smacks him on the ass and gives him some stupid Rock quip. That's because he's Dwayne and he can fucking do that.
People that don't know have to smarten up to what we know. So to pretend that The Rock is all serious in business, for the casual fan, we know better. The Rock is what The Rock is. He's got serious parts, he's got funny parts. If the casual fan is going to learn about this, they're going to have to see it. So they saw The Rock. They saw everything that The Rock is about. They saw the serious, they saw the funny. Isn't that kind of what you want new people to see? You want them to see the complete picture?
I think to someone who might not be a WWE fan but is a wrestling fan, I would agree with you with that statement. However, to people who might just be getting into wrestling and be kind of getting exposed to it, they might have perhaps a little bit of cognitive dissonance over that. What if they don't know the hit?
Hold on, Poot.
But those aren't the people that are watching NXT.
Exactly. This is on the CW.
That might have been the people watching Raw, but that's not the people watching NXT. Exactly. People watching NXT are fans of NXT.
One at a time.
This is not the 5 billion eyes that are on that are on Netflix. This is people who tune. And yes, obviously, The Rock did draw a bigger audience because NXT did its best rating since they had The Undertaker and John Cena on to beat AEW that one random week. So this is the best rating that they've done in fucking years, and I'm sure the CW was thrilled. Blah blah blah. But I mean, make no mistake about it. Everybody who tuned in to watch NXT on Tuesday was a wrestling fan. They know The Rock. They know how The Rock operates. And to me, the whole interaction, the way The Rock talked to him, serious, and then at the very end gave him the attaboy, that told me The Rock thinks that there is something in this guy, and that tells me that we're for a very serious Ethan Page push in 2025, 2026.
What an enormous promotion of that kid. He was the only one other than Ava that The Rock interacted with. Is that correct?
It is.
So he's the only person The Rock interacted with on camera. Anybody watching that is going to look at that and go, okay, Rock just stamped this guy's forehead with a big stamper that says approved. That's screen. Again, everybody has their own, everybody sees in their own, vision what they see. But at least what I saw was The Rock made a point to come on screen with this dude, have an interaction with him. That just says to me, okay, The Rock is high on this guy, which means we should expect to see some great things out of him. That is just my takeaway.
And the fact that he got the NXT title 2 weeks after he showed up, actually, I think he got the title shot 2 weeks and got a month later. Anyway, it shows that Michaels is high on him, that Triple H is high on him. I think huge things are in store for Ethan Page. But like and that's the thing. I don't think that you can put NXT and Raw on the same level because they're not. They and like again, great that Raw had such a huge rating, huge viewing. We can't say ratings anymore because for the first time in ever, Raw had a 0 rating,
Oh,
down dramatically from the week before. What's happening over there at WWE, man? They're losing their fans. And NXT getting like an extra like 300K, like that's bananas, and that's awesome, and that's great. But like you can't. And to me, NXT was one thing. I know it. I appreciate you holding back. NXT was one thing on Tuesday, and that was telling me A, Roxanne is coming to the main roster. B, Trick is coming to the main roster. C, Ethan Page is coming to the main roster. It was a changing of the guard. And honestly, if I'm being real with you, I don't know how long Obafemi is for NXT. I don't know how long Julia is for NXT because I think that both of those talents are main roster level talents as well. I want to touch on one thing real quick. Because this has the internet in an uproar. Ransom mentioned it.
uh-oh.
CM Punk's jacket.
Oh.
So, yes, it is the same style of jacket that CM Punk wore at All In Wembley, his last AEW match, as you mentioned. It was the same jacket that he was seen on camera in the back with Jack Perry during the fracas and that Tony Khan feared for his life. Yes, that is all true. However, it is also the same jacket that he wore for the Summer of Punk back in Ring of Honor, which was some of his best work. It is also the same jacket he wore when he faced MJF in the dog collar match, which was, I think, his best work in AEW. It was it's a look that he reserves for the biggest moments of his career. Was it also a fuck you to Tony Khan? Maybe. Knowing the type of guy that Punk is, probably. But I tend to think of it more that like CM Punk recognizes, okay, this is a big moment in my career. I'm gonna break out the black jacket. Like I think that is because I mean Wembley, he whether he knew that was gonna be his last match or not, who fucking knows. But like what it was AEW's biggest event of all time, still is. Again, the dog collar match with Max, big fucking business. So like, I think it has less to do with Tony Khan and more to do with just Punk being like, hey, this is a big deal. I think that this is AEW Kyle's just wanting to get in their emotions about this.
That's good info because I didn't know about like the Summer of Punk from Ring of Honor. I didn't know that about I don't know whatever other time that you had mentioned
Dog
him
collar
wearing
match with Max.
the dog collar,
MJF,
yeah. But no, I didn't know that. But so those are good points. But I think maybe the bulk of the people on the internet, like you said, the pictures aren't showing like him during Ring of Honor wearing that or him during the dog collar wearing that. The pictures are showing the confrontation with the guy backstage and him coming out in Wembley in it. Like
that's because Ransom, my dear friend, the internet is a terrible, terrible, terrible place.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Remember how we heard growing up that like trolls like to live under bridges? Well, I think that we can just clarify that the internet just is existing under a bridge in a
the
hole.
Internet's a troll bridge.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't completely rule out the possibility of Punk smirking to himself about.
Oh, absolutely. He's an
hey,
asshole.
remember the last time? Like it wasn't the only time I wore this jacket. You remember the last time I wore this jacket? Probably in this era, the most memorable time he wore the jacket. Like I think
hey, DK, well, look at 5 million sets of eyes looking at me How's your product doing?
I wouldn't rule it out that it
Oh.
was like that he was having some smirks. Maybe not the only reason why he wore it, but like I think deep down somewhere, like he was probably like.
Poot, you haven't talked in a while. Talk to me about Raw NXT. What you had a very like firm stance, and I like that. I like that you stood pat and you didn't back down. I want to hear more from you about the proceedings of the last week.
I was just waiting my turn, buddy. Like I honestly the like NXT, I think NXT was handled better. I mean, I don't really have, you guys already hashed through everything as far as that goes. Like my point with the rub for Ethan Page, yes. My thing is going off of what you guys said with the with like, you know, having like, you know, it's like, oh, these people, they might be WWE fans or might be casual fans. It's, you know, introductions to people and stuff like that. Like it's, you know, making it more digestible or whatever, you know what I mean? And I like the perspective. I will give you this about The Rock coming out and doing that, having it be like, okay, he's coming out and he's doing this as a, what's the word? What'd you say? Like coming out and being a board member. He's not being the final boss. You know what I mean? Like he's coming out and being that. That's why he was there. And he was giving the flowers to Cody Rhodes and doing that. Admittedly, in that capacity, it didn't exactly like Ethan Page looked better than Cody Rhodes. If you're comparing apples to apples here. The point with this is like I like that perspective of like, oh, he's coming out as the head of the board of directors and not coming out as The Rock, you know. Okay, that I'll take. But if we're doing that kind of stuff and like, you know, giving like Rhea Ripley the rub and stuff like that, and I would like to just pose this then. Having the Undertaker come out and give the rub to Rhea Ripley, and you know there were some people I saw online that did say it felt like she got her thunder stolen by the Undertaker. I didn't see it that way either. She looked thrilled. She looked like it was like a dream come true. I kind of went like, all right, that's kind of cool. Like I was like, okay, Undertaker's here. That's neat. He didn't talk. He didn't yap. He didn't do any of that stuff. He just kind of showed up, raised the fist bumped Rhea Ripley, and that was it. Like that's real cool. Especially, and I hope this isn't taken the wrong way, especially having a male wrestler the caliber of The Undertaker giving the rub to a arguable future Hall of Famer in Rhea Ripley. Yeah. I don't think that's conjecture to say that.
Yeah, there's no argument. She's the first ballot Hall of Famer at this point in her career.
Like, no, and that's my point, is to have they didn't have, whoever come out.
Well, and that was the thing. But the alternative was that allegedly they were considering having Becky Lynch come out. That would have stolen Rhea's thunder, and that was real fucking pissed about.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. It's like it didn't really steal her thunder. It didn't do that. It gave her the rub. My argument here for why I'm still a little irked we didn't get Penta. First of all, admittedly, yes, I'm a big fan of Penta. Big fan. And I wanted to see him. But we're going to get him next Monday. Everything's cool. Whatever. My point is, if we're going to do that, there's a lot of people out there who might not know who Pentagon is. They might not know who Penta is. So to have this debut, sure, people are going to pop. You know, he was on Lucha Underground. He's in AEW. He's been in New Japan. He's been part of those things. Yes, he is a big part of like the wrestling zeitgeist. But there are probably a lot of people who are watching that didn't know who he is or don't know who he is. And okay, they've been doing a good job kind of like sending out those little teaser things. And then people will be like, who's this Penta character? And they can research him. But there are still going to be people like he's going to come out and like they're watching at home and they're going, "Who's this guy? What's his deal?" That would be the only reason that I could see the tag match with Ray benefiting that, because they're like, "Oh, he's tagging with Ray. He's on the same level as Ray." I know you and the greater wrestling world would not see it that way, but for the people they're trying to draw in with this new format and everything, I could see that being a benefit to the casual fan or to someone who is not familiar with wrestling really at all. That being said, you made an excellent point. Would you have rather had that? Me personally, would you rather have had that, or would you rather have him go in there, show off his shit with someone who will not only is a good talent himself, but will make Penta look fantastic?
Yeah.
Yes, I would rather have that. Honestly, gun to my head, I would rather have that. I would rather have more of an opportunity for that to breathe. I would rather have more of an opportunity to have that happen. So, yes, I will concede on that. But
too, if you look at their styles,
here's the other point. Real quick, I want to counterpoint Poot, because that's what I do. It's what I live for.
Bastard.
If your idea is that Penta is not known, and that like it's a bunch of casual, not even casual, it's like people that don't really know wrestling, and they team him up with Rey Mysterio, like, does that do him any better? Like, Rey Mysterio is not The Rock. Rey Mysterio is great, and I think in the pantheon of wrestling fans, I think everybody appreciates what a legend he is. But even to the casual folk, I think that they team this big, like, 6 foot whatever luchador up, who like lights the ring on fire, literally and physically sometimes. And then you have this little short shit Rey Mysterio, who, his best days has been behind him, admittedly. So like I don't think that from that perspective that does him any favors either. I think that would only do him favors in the pantheon of wrestling fans. And again, I think that it's doing him a better service to have his own personal spotlight with Chad fucking Gable.
So I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And that's what I was saying. I conceded to that point. Like like I did, because like it you're like, you know what? You're right. You're absolutely right. I would prefer that. You are correct. Like,
and I could see Poot's initial point. Like, as far as name recognition goes, Rey Mysterio has bigger name recognition than Chad Gable. Like, absolutely. Like, I see Poot's point in that. He's absolutely correct as far as name recognition goes. Definitely. But, and this isn't to argue Poot at all. It's just my druthers. Like, name recognition, Chad Gable doesn't necessarily have as much as Ray. But at this stage in Chad Gable's career, I think we will see a better way to highlight all of the great things that Penta is having a match with Chad Gable, because Chad Gable's a phenomenal in-ring worker. So I think you put those two together, the name recognition might not be there, but what you see in the ring, I think, is going to go a lot further with Penta versus Gable one-on-one than Penta tagging with Ray. Because like Beef said, his prime is behind him. I think Chad Gable's probably in his prime. So I think we're probably going to get one hell of a banger between Penta and Gable. Like, I think they're going to highlight each other in all of the right ways and none of the bad. So I'm frankly more excited to see Gable wrestle with Penta than to see Penta wrestle with Ray. I think the quality and caliber is going to be there. This isn't the best analogy.
I'm still very bitter that American Alpha never took off. I'm still so sad because I think that they were a once in a generation team.
I agree.
Yeah,
it's gone, and it
It's
unfortunately
not
because
gone.
of injuries.
It's not gone.
Well,
It's
Jason
not
Jordan's
gone.
done. Like Jason Jordan's done. Like
Yeah, but
there's.
well, okay, sorry.
well,
Sorry. I was thinking of the current stable. I wasn't thinking of the old. I was thinking of the old tag team. I'm thinking of the current stable. Sorry, I misheard. That's my fault. But no, I will say I do hope that Chad Gable's current stable of American Made definitely takes off because they've got
with the Diamond Mine and Ivy Nile. Yeah,
absolutely.
Dude.
It's gonna that should be. I can't say that's gonna because you can never say that. That should be like one hell of an awesome stable. They should have some longevity to them. This might not be the best analogy, but like it's all I can think of at the point right now, like to form into words. We've said before, like why? What's the saying? Like why give the cow away when you can get the milk for free? What's that saying?
Why buy the cow?
Why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free?
Or why buy that? Sorry.
Yeah. So again,
why buy the farm when penis good?
Yes. Also, yeah. I mean,
wow,
buddy, I love you so much. I love you.
Arguing about penis farms.
Can that be the title of this recording?
Well, remind me because I'll forget. I'm old.
Why buy the farm when penis good?
Put that in the chat.
It's not the best analogy, but like try to look at it this way when you look at this first episode of Raw on Netflix. Like you can't. They don't have the time to give away, to feature everybody and everything that Raw features. Like they didn't have the ability to do all of that. And again, I think this first episode on Netflix was meant to be a teaser. Like it was meant to whet the taste buds. So if people see a little bit of what they can see weekly and knowing full well that they're going to get more on in the coming future, like I think this episode of Raw did that. I think it whet the taste buds enough to where if there were casual viewers, they got a taste. This was a taste. This I don't think was supposed to be the main course or a full meal of what Monday Night Raw is. I think this was meant to be a taste, an introduction. And to leave you wanting more, I think is a good thing. To know that they acknowledge Cody Rhodes as being the WWE champion, the guy that has carried, the company. So they whet your taste buds for the casual fan who maybe has watched Raw this time for the first time. They mentioned and acknowledged Cody, and they had The Rock do it. Like, again, Rock is a bigger name than wrestling at this point. Like, he has more name recognition than just wrestling. So casual fans or people that have watched Raw for the first time because it showed up on Netflix, they know The Rock. They might not know Cody Rhodes, but damn it all, they know The Rock. And Rock made a point to mention and call this guy out. So they whet the taste buds there. They showed a promo for Gunther, and I get it. They didn't have him appear with his belt, but they whet your taste buds. Like, okay, this guy is the World Heavyweight Champion. Like, they had a vignette for him, a promo. They whet your taste buds for Gunther. They showed superstars in the crowd that will appear on Monday Night Raw. They didn't wrestle or come out and cut a promo on this one, but they're going to appear on Monday. You're going to see these guys and these ladies. You tune into Monday Night Raw on Netflix, sponsored, whatever. This is what you're going to see. So I think maybe that was the goal, is to not necessarily like put everybody in care all at once. Like they're not shoving everybody out there at once. They're wetting your taste buds for what you're going to see when you come back next week and the week after and so on and so forth. Like I saw it in that light of, hey, come back next week. You're going to see Gunther wrestle. Hey, come back next week. You see this big guy in the crowd, Braun Breaker, like Intercontinental Champion. We're going to see him wrestle. I don't know. Maybe I'm far off base and completely out of touch, but like that's how I took it away. As this was a teaser, this was a sampler. Come back next week. There's more to come, bigger and better things. Like keep coming back, keep watching.
My taste buds are so moist.
I'm not. I was gonna say, man, you're gonna have to get to your point, because if I hear you say wet one more time, I'm gonna be.
Yeah, girl. I mean, well, you started talking about penis farms, so there's only so wet you can get. Wait.
So
well, you know.
So they
Settle
gave
down.
us just a tip.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, I've got a
I think that's a
mouthful of
great way
ice
to
cream
look at
cake.
I think that's a great way to look at it. Yeah, I agree. And honestly, like I think that this is happening at a great time. Now, my concern is because now you're balancing three things, right? Technically four with the CW, but you've got USA, you've got Netflix, you've got Peacock. I'm interested to see how much, like, how that kind of like that cross promotion goes. Like, hey, make sure to check us out on Peacock. Make sure to watch Raw on Netflix tomorrow. Blah blah, or Monday. Blah blah blah. Like, I wonder how much say the networks are gonna have with that. Like, I can't imagine the Peacock is thrilled with, you know, free advertising for Netflix and vice versa, because they're technically competitors.
Let me ask you this, because I don't watch the TVs normally. If you watch a Monday Night Raw or a Friday Night SmackDown, are there advertisements for the other WWE shows? Like if you're watching Raw, will you see an advertisement for Friday Night SmackDown?
But that was cable and streaming. Now you have streaming and streaming. So I guess USA CW don't really factor in that scenario.
So you're more thinking about how it's going to work between Netflix and Peacock, the advertising?
Right.
Okay,
And I mean, honestly, like, I think football does a great job of it because they just fucking barrel through. Like, hey,
gonna be pissed.
This football gonna be pissed. Like this game's on Peacock tomorrow. This game's on. You can catch it on NBC or Peacock. You can catch this game on Prime on Thursday. So like I think that might be like just kind of the admonition of the or admission of the world that we live in now, where like it is what it is. We're not in the '60s where like Fox wouldn't say CBS's name and vice versa. But it's interesting to think about like how many plugs. Whether Netflix has a button for like how many fucking Peacock plugs they have.
Mm-hmm.
Like Saturday Night's Main Event on Peacock coming up this week, and this, that, and the other thing. I don't know. That might be a stupid thread to pull on. I just like that was something that I was thinking about. I was like, huh.
It's an interesting thought for sure.
Yeah. It's again, I think it's like an exciting time because it bleeds right into fucking Rumble season, which bleeds right into WrestleMania season. You got Elimination Chamber in Toronto, and Toronto was off the fucking chain last time they were there. I think Backlash last year. So like, or no, I guess that was, I don't remember when they were in Toronto, but it was a big show. So like, this is a very exciting time for this to happen. It's probably the best time of the year for this to happen, and I think that it's no accident that is happening the way that it has. Are we good with thoughts on NXT Raw? I was getting ready to segue, but I don't want to unless everybody has had their fill of what they want to say.
I mean, we kind of it. I'm just excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see where the pretense is being dropped of it. Like you said, yeah, okay, we're not real, but we're gonna make you feel real things. Like I love that.
Well,
I love that, and I can't wait for it. I'm here for it.
That's a really good point that we may have touched on, and I don't know, but
that's kind of a gloss over.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that though, because I appreciate how Triple H is evolving with the times. Because I think it might have been in the like after press conference too that he even talked about it. that like people know now. Like the internet is a thing, and it's like you can't pretend anymore. We, as in like WWE, can't pretend anymore that like the bad guys are really bad guys and the good guys are really good guys and they really hate each other. Like everybody knows now. It's no secret. Like this is entertainment. It's wrestling, but it is entertainment. And I appreciate Triple H kind of evolving with the times and acknowledging, like, he's not talking to us like we're stupid, like we're not supposed to know. You know, I appreciate him talking to us like adults, like, hey, faces, heels, shoot, work. Everybody knows these terms. Everybody knows, you know, what goes on behind the scenes. We are here to provide a product for your entertainment. And I can appreciate that. I can appreciate them evolving and no longer under the Vince umbrella of like, yes, face, yes, heel. I don't know. I thought that was a nice thing.
I still love Pat keeping kayfabe strong whenever they went on game day when he says a belt is something that holds up your pants. Every time like somebody like references like his belt buckle or whatever, or like someone comes on the show with a title belt and like one of the other guys is like, oh, look at the title belt or whatever, and Pat's like, nope, a belt's something that holds up your pants. Every time he drops that gem, I'm like, that's the one fucking McMahonism that makes me pop. But I agree. Like, go ahead, Tom.
If I may, to Ransom's point, I agree with you. Triple H is finding that good balance where I think he either it was either in the opening, the cold open, or like you said, I think it was in the press conference. I can't remember. I didn't watch the presser afterwards, but I caught some things here and there. You know, he said it like professional wrestling and sports entertainment are essentially like they're synonymous. We don't have to. It's not like how where Vince didn't want you saying you're a professional wrestler. No, you're a superstar. Well, no, the professional wrestlers are superstars, and they're one and the same. It's an art form, is what he said. He's like, what we do, it's entertainment. It's an art form, and for the people, this just a small aside. This is the one argument that I would go off of anybody that goes, well, you know, it's fake, don't you? And I go, listen. So is every fucking Marvel movie you watch, but you still watch them. So is every TV show that you watch, but you still watch them. It's entertainment, you fool. You fucking idiot. $49.99. Give me my money.
Yeah, and you're right.
But no, it's I agree. I appreciate, again, him not insulting the intelligence of your audience, because wrestling fans, for the most part, aren't dumb. They pay attention, and I say this in the sense of we're not dumb. We pay attention to things. We pay attention to details. That's why you know, people will say, you know, before Triple H, for the last number of years under McMahon, Raw was almost damn near unwatchable because the storytelling was not cohesive. You weren't connecting the dots. You were just haphazardly throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what stuck. Now you have thought out things. You have long-term storytelling. You have things that make sense and cohesive, coherent thoughts, and that's what you need out of any good art form. You know, I mean, it's all subjective. You know, some people are gonna be more into the psychology and the why and get me invested, and some people just want to see a fucking, you know, 20,000 super kicks and a 450 splash or two through a table off of a top of a ladder, and that's fine too. It's all art form. It's all subjective. It's what you like. The important thing when you're whoever you are, whatever promotion you're running, is to listen to your audience, find a good balance, and you know, and do what you can to draw in those new people. Like any form of any business that you're in, or anything that you're trying to do, any form of entertainment, you're always got to think think a little bit ahead. Like, to his credit, like Vince McMahon did back in the day when he, you know, with the infamous words that he had for Ted Turner when Ted said, "Oh, I'm in the wrestling business." He's like, "Well, that's good for you. I'm in the sports entertainment business." Vince was already thinking, you know, years ahead of where Ted Turner was wanting to get into the professional wrestling business. Vince was the one having that foresight to, to do the shit with celebrities and stuff and creating WrestleMania essentially and all that stuff. So it's about thinking ahead, and like Ransom said, it's like evolving with the product and evolving with the times and the language of things. And I mean, the WWE is on a global scale. People know what it is. It's not a dirty secret anymore. It's not a dirty secret to be a wrestling fan. You can take pride in being a wrestling fan, and I'm here for it all.
Well said. Well said.
Figured it out.
You know what I'd like to figure out?
Why?
Oh.
Were you just segueing my segue? Were you just segueing my segue, Tom?
I don't know. Are we both thinking the same thing? Did we just become best friends?
No.
How dare you?
I figured out why the women's Royal Rumbles have been better than the men's Royal Rumbles since the women's Royal Rumbles have been invented.
Okay.
With the exception of the first Cody year was pretty good, and the Shinsuke year wasn't bad. I figured it out.
Yep.
The women's Rumbles have that perfect balance of surprises, people that we want to see from NXT, and returns. And they don't paintbrush you with any of them. For example, I was watching, I think 2020, just before we came on. Bianca Belair had 8 eliminations, lasted 30 minutes before finally getting tossed out by Charlotte, the eventual winner, which is not cool, but whatever. Shayna Baszler comes out number 30.
Things to come.
Matches Bianca's 8 eliminations in 5 minutes. Makes her look like a fucking house of fire. Beth Phoenix was a surprise entrance, and that's where she had her head busted open, and basically went long with Natalya, and they basically owned the Rumble for a little bit. There are a lot of women's Rumbles that are like that have that perfect balance of people now. Rhea Ripley was featured, I think was it 2018? Featured very prominently in 2018 as kind of the sign of things to come. Toni Storm had a great showing in 2020. All of these, basically giving us a view into what we have, what we're gonna have, and what we have had perfectly done. It's not a fucking hurricane entrance that comes in and gets tossed out immediately. It's not Kevin Nash who fucking waltzes around the ring for fucking 5 minutes, maybe tosses a guy before finally getting thrown out. It's not a fucking announcer standing out from the desk and be like, "Hey, I'm in." It's not fucking Jerry Lawler laying under the fucking ring apron for 30 minutes. It is, dare I say, a perfect infusion. And I don't know who has been booking them. I get the funny feeling that was a Triple H thing.
I thought
that wouldn't surprise me.
I thought Tyson Kidd was working with a lot of the women talent as far as an agent, or correct me if I'm wrong.
Also, would not shock me because I think he's a guy who has high level wrestling IQ, like Triple H. But I think that we've lost that a little bit with the men's Rumbles as of late. I feel like it's this time of year whenever I have to start setting expectations for everybody. Don't expect the surprises, because then we're just going to be disappointed. But I feel like with the women's Rumbles, I hate to say that they feel secondary, but they kind of do, because they haven't been around as long, and because usually they're like the first Rumble on the show. Usually the men's Rumble main events the show. So I think in a way WWE does their own kind of way to make them feel a little bit secondary. But because we don't have those lofty expectations for those Rumbles, even if someone like Charlotte Flair wins the Rumble, it's still a fun Rumble to watch. And I don't know how to necessarily fix that with the current talent. I can tell you this: the last few years, it's been the men's rumble has been pretty bereft of NXT talent, and I think that has really kind of like killed my vibe with it. The few years where they had guys like Andrade, Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole come out. I think Aleister Black made an appearance when he was still in NXT. So like when they had like the NXT people come out, I think that was a lot of fun. I'm hoping that we kind of get a return to, and I get it that the Royal Rumble, everybody wants a spot, right? Like, and the main roster's crowded. You have a lot of great mid carders, a lot of great upper carders, you know. But like, let's make room for an Obafemi. You know, let's make room for an Ethan Page. Let's kind of get some of those guys. I would even take Tony D'Angelo. Let's make room for some of those guys who are going to be on the upswing sooner than later, so that we can start getting used to and getting the crowd acclimated to them, because I think that's going to bring a lot more excitement.
Can I ask you a serious question, though it may sound snarky, but it's not meant to?
Sure.
When did, because again, old, can't really remember. The last year's Royal Rumble, 2024, where was Vince McMahon at that point? Was he done? Or was he still like
wait.
Did the allegations, because I remember us talking about it, I think we were at dinner, man. Like, did the allegations come out right around Rumble time last year? Like, was Slim Jim going to pull sponsorship for the Rumble?
Yes.
Because of the Vince allegations? And then Vince stepped down.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what had happened. It literally happened like a day or two before the Rumble. We heard that Slim Jim might pull their sponsorship, and then, like, lo and behold, the next day we heard Vince resign, and then everything was copacetic again with old Slim Jim. So, yes.
Okay. So, I guess maybe the Triple H, because they did the big acknowledgement of, like, the Triple H era. That was the first night of Mania. Is that when Steph came out and, like, officially said, okay, so let's just say, like you had said, the women's Rumbles prior to that, like that year and prior, felt very Triple H-y. Maybe Triple H was booking those Rumbles, and I would say Vince was probably still the one that was booking the men's Rumbles. Maybe we can be cautiously optimistic that this year, this Rumble is going to be full Triple H era Rumble. Do you think we start to see the quality of the men's Rumbles go up? If we're thinking that Triple H was heavily involved in the women's Rumbles previously and they were all really good, like you said, can we be cautiously optimistic that now this is the first Rumble that Vince is like really, really gone? We're full in the Triple H era. Maybe the men's Rumble now be as good as the women's Rumbles, because this is, for all intents and purposes, the first men's Rumble where it's fully planned and booked out by Triple H.
I mean, I think that, more than ever, I think that this is a time for optimism.
Okay.
I think that we've had the last year with cautious optimism, and I think that it's been a pretty above board year for the first time in a long time. I think that it's been a great year, I'll even say. Their foreign shows have been outstanding. the quality of the PLEs has increased while the timing of them has decreased, and I think that that's important to do. I still think that there's room for that to grow, where they can get more people on the card and maybe have some longer matches. But again, like I think that that's going to be kind of a balanced thing. But I would argue that I think that, yeah, I mean, 2024 was really kind of like the year of Triple H, I guess. The first year that he was really kind of like in holding the reins, no pun intended. And I think that this is, I think it was a very successful year. And I think that, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, what does that like? How do you define a successful Royal Rumble? Like, if it's fun to watch, and then all of a sudden, like, and entry 31 comes out, and out comes the final boss. Like, is that a failure? If it's great up until the last 2 minutes, like, does that mean that it's a failure?
I mean,
I
we have proof positive of that. You remember the year that we wanted Daniel Bryan and we got Rey Mysterio?
Well, to be
I remember.
Rey Mysterio remembers.
I don't think that Rumble was anything to write home about before that had happened. That's when CM Punk got concussed and he laid in the mat for like 20 minutes. And then like Kane came back out at the end to eliminate Punk. Like it was just there was a whole bunch of schlockery that was happening.
Punk's last match.
It was up until that point. I was there live for that, and
yep.
I can tell you unequivocally that, like, I had never heard Rey Mysterio get booed so loud and so hard. Like, it was like even more so than like what Hogan got booed the other night. Like, it was insane. Like,
oh yeah,
oh my god,
it
was, and I loved it because, again, I'm not the biggest Rey Mysterio fan by any means, so
I just and yes, it's like absolutely. I think that the wrong guy can turn it off, but like I think that if it had been a better Rumble to that point, maybe it'd be a little bit more forgiving. And I'll say this: knowing how the next like 4 months would transpire, and that Daniel Bryan would be in the main event of WrestleMania and win the main event of WrestleMania 30, I would argue that, like, I think that Rumble is a fun one to watch because of the infamy of it. Because we know what's going to happen. Because you're like, steeling yourself, readying for like the crowd to just like start eating fucking coconuts, man. And like you start to feel it as it builds. You get to like 25 and there's a little bit of a buzz. Like, okay, we haven't seen Daniel Bryan yet. What's going on here? Is he not coming? What's going to happen? And then as like, the machinations started, and you get Batista, people are like, oh boy, here we go. And then it's like, okay, number 30, this is our fucking last hope, and it's Rey Mysterio. And if the people of the PPG, was it the Eagle? No, it was PPG at that point, right, Tom?
PPG, yeah. Or wait, hold on. Wait, 2014.
It may have been. What was in there before PPG?
It may have been Console Energy Center.
Yes.
Either way,
if the people of the Console Energy Center could have uprooted their chairs and thrown them into the ring, I am confident that they would have done so.
Can confirm.
So like that one, I think is fun for a different reason, and I think that those ones are okay too. It's the ones that aren't memorable. And the one that Randy Orton won is a great example. Before WrestleMania 26, whenever the Legacy basically like handed him a win. Like, all right, okay, like Boo this man. So like for me, I'll say this. For me, if we get and fucking pie-eyed here, if we get fucking Joe Hendry, right? And we get Obafemi, and Obafemi has like 5 eliminations. And we get Trick Williams, and he eliminates Carmelo. And, this. And it's down to like John Cena, CM Punk, fucking, I don't know, Roman, and somebody else. And then The Rock comes out and fucking eliminates, Punk or John Cena or both at the same time and proclaims himself the final boss. Like, would that ruin it? Probably not. It would leave a bad taste in my mouth, and I'd be severely disappointed with how they chose to end it. But I would still say, okay, it was still a good Rumble, just a bad ending. And I remember saying that before. Now I know that there's one of us who that would absolutely just fucking kill the mood. Absolutely, like get out of my house, kill the mood. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen.
I want to walk back some of my previous comments because of something you said here tonight.
Okay. Oh.
So you made mention of the year that we got Rey Mysterio 30. Everybody was waiting for Daniel Bryan 31. We didn't get it. Everybody was mad. So we didn't see what was coming. Going back now, I think, like you said, you watch that Rumble now, and it might not be the greatest Rumble, but you don't have the anger and the hatred that you had at the time because of what came after. This is a me problem. I need to do a better job as a fan of, let's say The Rock comes out as 31 or even 30. Who fucking cares? And eliminates Punk and Cena and whoever's left, Joe Hendry, and wins the Rumble. Is that what I want? No. But I don't know what's coming. It could progress into something just as bad, or it could progress into something a lot better, like what happened with Daniel Bryan. No, but like we all thought, well, that's it. That was Bryan's chance. Now it's not going to happen. This is the worst. But then it happened. And Daniel Bryan was in the main event at WrestleMania, and he won the championship at WrestleMania. Exactly what we wanted. It might not have gotten there the way we wanted it to get there, but we got what we wanted. So I need to try to, and I can see how it's tough for me to do it because look at what we've had in the past with Vince McMahon. Like, you can't saying just trust him, believe in Vince McMahon. Man, I could never do that. But like after this year of 2024, I can believe that Triple H knows what he's doing. I can believe that he's going to do what's best for the fans. I think a big fat shining example of that is the way they called that audible at last year's Mania with The Rock. I fully believe at first they had planned to have Cody give The Rock his spot and have The Rock face Roman Reigns. But then when they realized, oh, the fans really hate this idea, they really don't want that, they called an audible. And Triple H was like, you know what? This is a bad idea. We shouldn't do it. Rock can say all he wants, like, I recognize that this wasn't the way to go, and I pitched this to Triple H, and yada, yada, yada. I don't necessarily believe that, to be honest with you. I think it was more like Triple H being like, hey, man, I don't like the way this is looking. I'm going to trust in Triple H. I have no reason at this point to not. So if The Rock comes out in this Rumble, at whatever number, and if he wins, it's not what I want, but I need to do a better job and say, Triple H has a mind for the business, the likes of which we have never seen. Man knows wrestling, knows what he's doing. I'm going to trust that even though this is not the outcome that I want, the end result past this pay-per-view, it's going to work out. So I have to temper my knee-jerk reaction if The Rock shows up. I truly do believe that the Rumble might not end like I want. I have to believe that the end result, where we get to, that's going to pay off. Because I think Triple H has earned that trust from me. I can't speak for everybody, but I think he's earned that trust from me that says, okay, wasn't looking forward to The Rock winning, but something's going to happen. Something down the road is going to be good. Focus on that.
I dare say that, like, I would be more in for The Rock coming out at number 31 and winning the Rumble. That would sit better with me than Charlotte Flair winning the Royal Rumble this year. And like,
wow.
I know it's gonna happen. Like, this is not a prediction. This is a spoiler. Put your points on Charlotte Flair in the Women's Royal Rumble. She's going to return, and she's going to win. Because
maybe Becky just re-signed though. Like,
don't care.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Says otherwise. Seth says otherwise, but we know that he's like kind of a keeper of kayfabe too. Listen, man. I don't think that she needs it either. But like I read an interesting quote by Meltzer, I think, that said that Rhea winning the title on Monday was about numbers. It was about getting because women's title match at WrestleMania, you got 4. And unless they do something silly, you got 4. They want Rhea to be one of those 4.
Good.
So, assuming that Tiffy time is not temporary, that's 2. Meaning, we now have 2 spots open for women at WrestleMania, and if Charlotte Flair is guaranteed one of them, that makes me sad. Moreover, if Charlotte Flair is the first woman to win a second Royal Rumble, that makes me sad.
You're gonna be sad, boy.
By being in the Rumble, she's gonna break a slew of other records. Time in Royal Rumbles, total elimination Royal Rumbles. I know it. I will die on this hill that Charlotte Flair is not talented and not as talented as her station. I think that she'd be a good hand. But because her last name is Flair, and because the boss of WWE, the booker of WWE right now, worships at the altar of a fucking pederast. Actually, I guess he's not a pederast. He's just a fucking, sexual deviant. Because he worships at the altar of Ric Flair, who I have made my feelings known about before being mid. He's going to let Charlotte walk all over all of the women to make sure that she is glorified. And here's the thing, Ric Flair's not even dead yet. It's going to get way worse when Rick dies. So I don't know, man. And they're gonna feel bad that she's had a raw deal the last couple years, getting hurt so much, yada yada yada. It's gonna happen. It is absolutely happening. And yeah, they could bring in Jordan Grace and have Julia in the Rumble and Stephanie Vaquer and Roxanne, and they could fucking bring in Toni Storm. And if and when Charlotte wins, I'm still gonna be like, okay, that was only okay. And I hope to be proven wrong. I really do. Hopefully that they can book something in the Women's Rumble to offset that. But I'm already setting my expectations hella low because I know that this is gonna be a Charlotte Rumble.
Do you think he's still worships at the feet of Flair? Because
yes.
I mean, I think he still looks at him as far as what he did in wrestling, and as big a name as he was in wrestling. and they had their time together in Evolution. But like, Flair hasn't been back. He hasn't been back to like even like show up backstage. You know, he was last with AEW. I don't even know if he still has some sort of like contract with AEW, but like maybe I don't know. I'm just wondering, like,
if Triple H call. I think if Triple H had his druthers, he absolutely would be back.
Do you think so?
But like, I think that TKO was like, listen, man, with all the McMahon shit going on, the last thing we need is another like old man that has all these fucking allegations floating out there. That like, if the right woman decides if she wants to make a fucking problem, she can make a fucking problem. That's the last thing TKO needs. So I think that they're going to be as distanced as they can from Ric Flair, for the longevity of his life. You know, however short that may be. Yeah, just because I think, you know, again, given their past of what they've dealt with Vince, it's a very short leap to Ric Flair, and yeah, they want to avoid that. But yeah, I think absolutely Triple H. You know, because and here's I think the difference. Not that I agree with the thought process at all, but I'm imagining that this is probably where it's at with him. Back in Flair's heyday, doing the shit that he did, it was just, oh, that's how the boys were. Well, as we fucking found out that, you know, the boy fraternity is actually fucking terrible, filled with a bunch of fucking assholes who, you know, we never should have fucking put on pedestals ever. But like, you know, everybody views Vince as a monster, and with good cause. He absolutely was. But you know, I think that they're just going to see Triple H specifically is just going to see that, you know, that's how the boys were back in the day.
Well, I hope you're wrong about Charlotte.
Yep.
I'm not. As my only hope is that the Final Four is something like I don't even know, fucking Jordan Grace, fucking, you know, Stephanie Becker or Julia. Like my only hope, like I said, is that the rest of the Rumble can make up for it. But I just, man, like that the fucking it's gonna fucking hit, and I'm just my fucking like Rumble boner is gonna go from like fucking 12 o'clock, like let's hop on, to fucking like -3 o'clock, like up halfway, like up my intestine, you know. So
Gross.
Put towel down.
just saying, it's expect it. And again, like I guess I'm just doing what I always do, where I'm setting everybody's
Negative Nancy
expectations.
is what you are. You're negative
I'm
Nancy.
not being
You are.
negative.
You're the
I'm
worst.
You know what?
being realistic.
Listen.
Okay.
Listen.
Hate
I'm just saying.
Enough.
I'm just saying.
Enough of Beef's anti-boner and fucking negative Charlotte talk. Can we do something positive that we have all four of us here? Can we please fucking put Pat or whoever else to shame and do a stump the chumps?
No.
Whoa.
And as a side note, Beef.
You got nothing.
I'm gonna
We
need
got nothing.
Beef. After
Yes.
last week, you know what happened. I'm gonna need you to temper your own expectations and not jump off the ledge.
No. I'm letting you know that we got nothing. Like I'm back in 2023. We have no backlog. There are no stump
2023.
chumps. Yeah.
Year. Hey.
Yeah.
Poot.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I posed this question to Beef and Tom last week. You weren't here for it, so
Sure.
I'm curious as what your take is. So
Okay.
I asked them last week, who would you like to see win the Royal Rumble? And who do you think is most likely to win the? So one is, if you had your druthers, who would you like to see? And the other is, your druthers aside, who do you feel is most likely to win?
Oh boy. That's tough. My druthers, I would like to I have a couple that I would like to see in a my little Poot fantasy world.
Ooh.
Obviously, absolute 1000% fantasy booking. I'd love to see Penta come in and just fucking wreck shop, because go Penta go. No. I would love to see a curveball, and this is like still fantasy booking, but not extreme fantasy booking. I would love to see a fucking curveball be thrown around, something along the lines of like, oh shucks, I don't know. Have Ethan Page fucking win. He's that big of a deal. He's that big of a deal. Have him come up, have him debut, have him go up there, have him win the Rumble, and just be like, yeah, fuck you. Like, that would be kind of cool. But I think, honestly, like on here, I wouldn't mind seeing what, like, I know, we're getting a little long in the tooth with him, but I think it would be kind of cool to see what, like, coming off of, like, now we're putting the Punk stuff behind us with Seth Rollins. I wouldn't mind seeing Rollins win a Rumble.
Oh,
I wouldn't mind seeing him win a Rumble and see what he can do with this version of Seth Rollins that we have. I wouldn't mind that. I think that could be kind of interesting. I think it'd be kind of fun. I think it would be kind of unique.
Right.
I wouldn't mind that. The other one that I would probably be okay with. Boy. I wouldn't mind. I again, this might be kind of where I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't. He doesn't need it. I wouldn't mind Punk. I wouldn't mind Punk. I wouldn't mind Punk getting it, because again, it's the thing that I love about the Rumble winner is what they can fucking do with that, because that is basically being handed a storyline for the next 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and when you have someone like a Seth Rollins or like a CM Punk, it's fucking interesting, man. It's fucking interesting. Because they can run with it, they can work with whoever, they can cut a fucking promo, and they can fucking work. Yeah, not maybe as well as in their prime, but they can still fucking go. The cracks in the foundation are showing, but there's no structural damage yet. Now, who I think is gonna win? I think it's either gonna be Cena or The Rock.
Really?
I think it's either Cena or The Rock. Yes. If the two reasons here. One, I wouldn't put it past WWE and The Rock to fucking do something like that. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't put it past it. I think it would not be interesting. I think I'd be bored to tears, and I would be very. My eyes would roll so far into the back of my head that I'd be able to see out my asshole.
The Pooter Taker.
Yeah. It would.
You turn into the Pooter Taker.
I would turn into the Pooter Taker, and there's no tolling of the bell.
Yeah.
There's no tolling of the bell. It's just me going bong, bong, fan.
What's the Pooter Taker do to the Impact Zone?
Oh, my Pooter Taker, yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. But the Cena thing, I wouldn't be surprised either, because you know what? If we're making this declarative statement that this is his final fucking run, I wouldn't be surprised if WWE. I wouldn't be surprised if H. I wouldn't be surprised at The Rock or TKO or any of the powers that be to just fucking give Cena all the flowers. Make it look like he won the fucking the Kentucky Derby and put all the flowers around his fucking neck. I would not be surprised. I would not.
Refresh my memory. Would that be his third? Would he tie for Austin?
No, he's only had one.
He's
only had one.
Really?
Yeah, that would be two. Yeah. And the thing is,
wait, say that again.
I was gonna say you send him surprisingly. Beef said.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he's only had one.
Wow.
And that's the thing. It's like I would not be surprised they gave it to Cena.
Wait,
and they put.
I think Cena has had two. The Rock's only had one.
Well,
because we talked last week about somebody
Batista.
Like if they won.
Well,
no, Cena has had two. It is he won in the Madison Square Garden year, which was 2008.
That was his return, where he returned way early.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then again in 2013.
That's the one.
The year before, so that he can make twice in a lifetime happen.
That's the one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the one we had forgot about. That's what we talked about because then we started running down the gambit of like people that had won multiple Rumbles, and like Batista was on the list. We forgot about him. But yeah, I forgot that Cena one. I specifically forgot about that being like that was literally the year before. That was for WrestleMania 29. Completely just times the son of a bitch.
So same question.
I mean, but maybe an unpopular opinion, but I wouldn't be unhappy to see Cena tie Austin's record for 3 Rumble wins.
Oh no, I'm for it. I'm all for it.
No, I wouldn't be upset about it, but it's one of those things that you do that and then whose title would he go for? That's right. He would go for Cody's.
Which apparently is already kind of penciled in as the main event of WrestleMania. Yeah. Good.
I just wanted to put a button on my statement, man.
Yeah.
Like, it just writes itself. It's believable that Cena could beat Cody. Like it's believable. I know Cena again. He shows his ring rust. He's still in incredible shape. He can still go. And I think honestly that Cena could put on that caliber of a match with Cody. I think that the ingredients are there. My thing is, okay, well, we know that it's going to be his last year doing this. Then what? You know, I mean, do we then get heel Cody? Because if this is a way to get heel Cody, I'm also here for that. Like,
yeah. Yep.
Does he win it and then the next night on Raw, you know, come out and just be like, I've done it. I've achieved this, you know, most title wins, blah, 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 all the feathers in the cap. Pretty much it looks just like a headdress at this point. Like, send him off into the ether to the big pair of jorts in the sky and just have him go, have him just forfeit the belt then? Do you have him forfeit the belt? Do you have him defend the belt? Do you have him run the year with it? Do you have Cody get his redemption then the following year? Like, because we've said, like, the interesting part of Cody is in the chase. Like, that's my point, is like, what do we do at that point then? But I can see it happening. So that's really what my answer is. I think it's either going to be The Rock or Cena. Like, it just, you know, that's the reality of what we're at.
I think the only thing that bums me out about a Cena win is that it's not Punk, and I know that I'm a Punk mark, and I get all of that, but like literally, I think that this is the one thing that Punk needs on his resume to like certify him as one of the greatest of all time. And for a lot of people, I'm sure he's probably already there. And I have no problem otherwise with John Cena winning. And being, 3-time champion of the Rumble. tying Austin. I think that that's actually fortuitous because I think that he's as big of a star as Austin in different ways. But like I just don't know. Like last year, they had Punk at the final two, and he lost. And then this year if they do that, I would be shocked if Punk is not in the final four. So again, it's gonna be how often is he gonna be the fucking bridesmaids here, and how many more years realistically do you have of CM Punk in a Royal Rumble? That's the other thing that I think you have to kind of be careful of. So, but like that's not like a huge deal because I know that Punk will be back for next year's Royal Rumble, barring injury, of course. So like I think this thing is a great choice. If Rock were to come out as number 31, I think that would be a fun little like haha. Especially after this past week. Now that we've heard The Rock as Dwayne the last like couple nights, it makes me kind of walk back some of that stuff and think, oh, maybe The Rock will be available for WrestleMania. Maybe we will be getting The Rock at the Royal Rumble. So like nothing is done without purpose. And I think that The Rock coming out as Dwayne and not The Rock, I think he knew that that would draw some eyebrows. And I think it's a possibility he's back in the mix. I'm hoping that it means that he understands that this year is about more than him. That this is Cena's year, and that he's gonna have his own time. The Rock can make his own fucking his own retirement tour that he wants. I'm hoping that that's what the last few days have meant. That The Rock realizes that and he's gonna step out of the way. I just don't know that his ego is going to allow him to do that. I want to ask you guys the same question that Ransom asked us last week, but for the Women's Royal Rumble. Who do you think's going to win? And who would you, if you had your pick, and make it like rational. Don't be like, I want to see Mariah May, Mina Shirakawa, Mercedes. No. Like they're under contract with AEW. That's not going to be happening. But like, if it's inside the realm of believability, who would you want to see, and who do you think is going to win?
I really
not just you, Poot. So if you want to take a minute to think about it, somebody else jump in.
The women's rumble. Oh, it's I think Charlotte Flair is almost a lock. If not her, then Becky. Honestly, I think I would like to see like Tiffany Stratton. That'd be kind of fun. Lyra Valkyria would be pretty cool. That's kind of it, honestly, for me, man. Rhea Ripley's got nothing to really prove right now.
I mean, Rhea and Tiffy are already champs, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll have to say the other three then. I'll say the other three. I think it's Charlotte or Becky. Charlotte's almost a lock. Becky would be great. But Lyra Valkyria, I think, would be pretty cool. I think that'd be neat.
I respect that. Tom, what about you, sir?
Pass.
Tom?
I said pass.
Oh.
We would have. It's
yeah, we
on the
didn't hear
recording.
you.
Ransom?
All right, so who I think? I mean, Poot's definitely in the the same line of thinking that I'm in. Becky, I could see her winning, especially if she did re-sign. I think that would be definitely within the realm of possibility. Charlotte, as unfortunate as that is, I could see that happening. I wouldn't rule out, even though she's the NXT Women's Champion, I wouldn't rule out the possibility of Julia winning. Because she could likely drop the belt, the NXT Women's belt, before Mania. And she could main event. And I mean, especially if they're as high on her as they seem to be, that would be like a real, in my eyes, that would be like a real rocket ship strapped to her back, being able to say, like, I'm the NXT Women's Champion and I won the Royal Rumble at the same time. And I'm going to main event WrestleMania and, challenge for, one of the main belts. Like, I think if they're looking to strap a rocket to her back, I don't think that's outside the realm of possibility. So those three strike me as, like, likely to win. Who I'd like to see win, and I know Beef said about, like, people contract with AEW, blah, blah, blah. It really seems like WWE has, at least in the past, has had a good working relationship with TNA, Jordynne Grace and Joe Hendry. I think it would be really interesting to see Jordynne Grace win the Women's Rumble. Outside of the realm of possibilities, maybe. But we've seen her show up in Women's Rumbles. We've seen Joe Hendry show up on NXT. I think with the full believability of, well, it's neat to see them show up, but they're never going to win. And I think probably a lot of people think along those lines. A lot of people in the know probably think along those lines, like, oh, Jordynne Grace is here in the Rumble. That's super neat to see. But I don't believe she's going to win. Like, oh, Joe Hendry's challenging for an NXT title. That's super neat to see, but he's never going to win it. What if they're ready to pull the trigger and go one step further? Will she win the women's title at Mania? Probably not. Maybe not. But I think that is a logical next step in the realm of possibility. Like, we've gotten them here to this point. We could go one step further. We could see Jordynne Grace win the Women's Rumble. That, I think, would generate a lot buzz, a lot of talking points. It would do, I think, good things for WWE because that would be history making. So that would generate a lot of buzz for them. I think it would be equally beneficial for TNA because they could tout, hey, our, TNA Women's Champion won the WWE Royal Rumble. Like, I don't know.
Just to clarify, she's not the women's champ anymore. It's Masha.
Well,
yeah.
Buggerface.
I know.
And to further clarify, I don't think that she's under contract with TNA currently. If she is, wow, it's on the very last legs.
Well, in that case, I think I would like to see her win, and I'm going to slot her in as another possibility for actually winning. If she's no longer under contract with TNA, I could definitely see her as a possibility of winning the Women's Rumble. Because if she's not with TNA anymore, I would be hard-pressed to see WWE not try to snatch her up.
So this is, from AI, Google, so trust what you want. It says that her contract expires on January 19th.
Oh, that is the night of the Genesis pay-per-view.
Wow. Okay. Well, so again, you've told me this before, and I apologize for asking it again. But if somebody's contract expires, do they still have a no compete clause, or once their contract expires, they can do what they want?
I don't think TNA had that anyway, to be honest with you.
Also, generally, when someone's contract is up, there is no non-compete.
That also.
Because the agreement is fulfilled.
That's why Moxley was able to show up on AEW the same month that he was done with WWE, because he fulfilled his dates. And that's why WWE, AEW are so keen on taking people off of TV for a couple months before they're done, so that they don't, say what you will about how they treated Moxley on the way out, because he did lose a lot to McIntyre on his way out, but he definitely still had exposure. It may just be conjecture at this point that Jordan Grace's contract is up. Maybe we just want to believe it. I don't know. Who knows? I think if I'm TNA, like, she's done enough fucking goodwill for you guys. If it's close and she's like, listen, I could go and get this fantastic fucking deal with WWE. Like, can we work something out? I think if I'm TNA, I'm like, all right, you know what? That's fine. I think that Jordan Grace has a very strong showing in the WWE Women's Royal Rumble 2025. I don't think that she wins. I think that she does come out, maybe as an early entrant, and I think that she has a lot of eliminations, and I think that she is in the final four. I think that she absolutely is going to have a big presence heading into what's presumed to be a WWE contract for her. I've said it. So I'll say it again. I think Charlotte Flair wins. I'm surprised how short the odds are for other people. I know that betting doesn't mean anything to you guys, but like Charlotte Flair is the favorite right now, followed very closely by Becky Lynch and Io Sky. And Io Sky, I think that she's somebody who could have a big Rumble. And have a great showing as well. Maybe leading to us getting Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. I'm here for that.
Yeah.
I'm also here with the idea of getting Julia versus Rhea Ripley at the Mania. I think that that'd be fucking fantastic too. Inside the realm of believability, I would probably say maybe Roxanne Perez. I think that she would be my pick for like who I would want to win. Just because I think that she's been so dominant in NXT. I think it'd be fun for her to show up and immediately be successful in the main roster. I don't think it would be a good match for her and Rhea Ripley though. I think that it would be a good match with her and like Tiffany Stratton, which apparently, again, if you believe the dirt sheets, they're angling towards Tiffany and Charlotte for WrestleMania. So, say what you will about that. So I think that would be a better matchup for Roxanne. I just hope everybody, because and again, I think I keep coming back to it that like I know Charlotte's gonna win, so like I'm not entertaining any thoughts of anybody else. I just hope they all have a good time. I admittedly would not be jazzed if Becky came back and won either. My Charlotte argument. Yeah, see my Charlotte argument.
I thought you were always pretty high on Becky Lynch.
I like Becky Lynch a lot. I do, but I think that we're past the point in history where Becky Lynch or Charlotte Flair need to be involved in a title picture.
Wow. Okay.
I think that the Four Horsewomen will forever be etched in history for what they did for women's wrestling. AJ Lee and Paige kind of opened the door so that the Four Horsewomen could just fucking blow that shit up and show you that women's wrestling is just as great as men's wrestling. And I'm including Charlotte Flair in that. I think that she's come a long way. But like I just think that we're past the point. I want to see the newer talents. Like I'm glad that Chelsea Green is getting hers. I hope to see Lyra Valkyria get hers with the Intercontinental, but I would be just as fine with Dakota Kai. Either way, I'm happy. Io Sky again has had a great run on the main roster. Give me more of that. What about someone like Asuka, who hasn't had the title in a couple years? Kairi Sane, who's never had the main roster title. Just to say a few. Piper Niven. She's another one that let's get her doing some good stuff here. Like there's a lot of talent in the women's division specifically. I think that they have really pumped themselves full of talent in the women's division, that they are set for the future. And I think that falling back on the past at this point would be a mistake. Tom, we've given you time. I want to hear your answers.
I don't really have anybody that I want to see win, because the people that I'd want to see win the Rumble and potentially go on to, main event WrestleMania already have the titles, that being Rhea and Tiffy. So
it's a great viewpoint. That's actually a wonderful viewpoint, Tom.
Yeah.
So I'm
Look at you finding the silver lining in my big fucking gray cloud. I appreciate you, Tom.
I think I'm more so thinking just along the lines now of who do I think actually has a chance of winning. I don't know so much that I see Lyra or Chelsea. Now I know you mentioned their names as people you'd like to see put in the main title picture here coming up or whatever. But since their names were mentioned, I'm going to say I don't think that we see them win this Rumble. I could see them having good showings, but I don't think that you would see either one of the women's mid-card title holders making doing a potential Ultimate Warrior spot at a WrestleMania, where you walk in as the IC champ and have the potential walk out as double champ or whatever. I think I think it's one, it's way too soon to do that with the women's mid card title. And two, I don't know. I just don't foresee that happening. That's something that doesn't happen too often. I think the last time that happened with anybody was with was it with Seth? I don't remember. That we had a double title. We had a mid card or what? You know what I mean.
Right.
So people that I think could win the women's Rumble, Charlotte and Becky are definitely up there. I could see them throwing Nia back in there to try to get back at Tiffy, but I feel like that storyline wise, Nia wouldn't want to wait around for that. Maybe they will. Maybe it'll be Nia tries to get her hands on Tiffy and she's ducking her, or whatever, and then Nia comes out at the Rumble. I don't know. So there's that. I could see maybe a Roxanne Perez coming up from NXT to do that. She's about the only one from NXT that I see doing that. Potentially winning. Being in the Rumble, I could see a few people. I could see them throwing Jada Parker or Lola Vice in there. Maybe even a Cora Jade. But I don't see any one of those latter three.
Well, Cora's a great pick. A great pick.
For I don't see any one of those last three winning. There's another two names, actually maybe another three, because I feel like they're a little bit higher on her now. And I'm surprised nobody mentioned her. One is Naomi. I could see them maybe giving that to her. Honestly, the hot take, I could see them I see Naomi as more of a possibility than I do Io Sky. Just throwing that out there. Hot take. And I'm not saying that's what I want. I'm just saying that's what I see. Number 2, Bianca. And number 3 is Bianca adjacent is Jade Cargill. I could see her making her return. I could see that kind of being the being part of the storyline, with her coming back. Something to carry over until she gets to Mania is the whole, who attacked her sort of thing or whatever, because there's still that kind of lingering out there. Maybe that's something where you get, maybe that's somehow you get a Bianca heel turn. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of ways you could go with it, but I think that's where our possibilities lie, in my opinion. But as far as who I want to see, I don't really have a particular person where I'm like, oh man, I really, really want this person to win it. Like, I don't have that same amount of want as I did, in the sense of, I want to see Chelsea Green win the Women's United States Championship, I don't have that. Like I said, everybody that I would want to see win it pretty much is already, is a women's champ, or is kind of sniffing around the main title picture anyways. I feel like Liv had a good run, but I don't think I don't feel like she needs it again. But that's also a possibility. I could see her doing that, and then revisiting her and Rhea at Mania, with Rhea going over. I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting one, just regardless, because of the fact of the amount of talent that you could believably put into that main title card picture on both the women's side and honestly on the men's side too. I mean, more so on the women's side, I feel. But there's a lot of decent choices on the men's side too. I don't remember who we mentioned last week, but Drew's a possibility. And after watching the Netflix premiere of Monday Night Raw, I feel like more and more is seen as the real possibility. I think I had said Braun Breaker last week, but the more I think about it, again, refer back to my Lyra Valkyria, Chelsea Green line of logic. I don't see them. I don't see them having him win it, and if they do, then then who's he drop the IC title to? I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one for sure.
So
I don't know if you guys saw the article that I just sent.
Stop it!
But
You're the worst.
I just want to say, you see, WWE's reaching out to legends to be in the Royal Rumble. Oh, that's cool. Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Ric Flair. Ric Flair's like, oh, I got another match in me. What if his fucking final match is a Royal Rumble?
No.
He's so upset.
No.
I hear
those two in particular, I think they might appear. I don't think they're in it. Flair could not go over the top. I don't think he could. So I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about Flair appearing in the Rumble. I could see Flair appearing backstage. I could see him doing a promo backstage with somebody, giving someone advice. Maybe he's handing out numbers. Whatever, who cares? I don't care about that. He can be back there. He can do his bullshit. Don't care.
Yeah,
he can't be in the Rumble.
Tumblr back, man. The Tumblr was a great thing that I really miss, and I think that added a degree of haha.
Shit. I just thought of another. I thought of another name. More so for the men's Rumble. Logan Paul. He could win it because I think he actually is now gonna go more full time ish.
Okay.
I correct me if I'm wrong. Did anybody else see something about him see that vignette or whatever during during Raw or no?
I don't know. It would not shock me. What does shock me is that Logan Paul has the same odds as Penta according to Oddspedia. Whether or not that's a fucking reputable site, I don't fucking know. But according
Doesn't
to fucking
sound like it.
Oddspedia, Penta and fucking Logan Paul have the exact same odds, which are pretty fucking long, at negative 3,300
Ooh,
or
Eh.
plus 3,300.
I'm gonna question the validity of that site, whatever it is. Yeah.
Oddspedia. So look, I love speculating in Rumble season. So I have one more speculation before I'm done speculating for this episode. And I'm just gonna hit because I know we're running long on time, so I'm just gonna hit with the women's. I'll speculate on the men's next week. But for the women's Rumble, I would like to know who you guys think could be a surprise entrant in the women's Rumble. And I'm not like Jordan Grace is out of that because I think I'm expecting her to be in it. I think we're probably all at this point expecting her to be in it, especially if her TNA contract runs out January 19th. Like, if she's no longer on a contract with TNA, I would absolutely expect her to be in it. So she's out of the running for a surprise entrant. So I'd like what you guys think. Who could be a surprise entrant for the women's Rumble? I'll go ahead and kick you off. I honestly do believe that we could see AJ Lee as a surprise entrant for the women's Rumble.
You stole my answer.
Got it. That's me. You guys go ahead.
How crazy would it be if Beth Phoenix was one?
Yeah, I could see that.
Pretty wild, right? You know, husband's working for the competition. Triple H says, "Fuck it, I don't care. You're your own person."
Yeah. Being that.
But do you think she would though?
No, I don't. Just because I think that would potentially put her husband in some hot water with old TK.
Old Snowstorm Khan.
I'm gonna take NXT out of it too. Boy, man, if you take fucking NXT and Jordan Grace out of it, I don't know that there's a lot of names.
I mean,
Xylee, no.
I could see one name from NXT as a complete surprise entrant that I don't think any of us would be expecting. Ava. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I could see Beth Phoenix doing it because I feel like Cope has enough clout over the in general in the business. I don't think TK would punish him for something that his wife is doing. I mean, like, did he punish did he really punish Britt Baker in the beginning while Adam Cole was still in NXT? No. I mean, I don't think that has as much to do with it. Despite, the snarky, stupid comments that we get back and forth from some people. But I think surprise entrant maybe being the fact that she was in the audience on Raw, maybe one of the Bellas. Not saying that I want to see it. I'm just saying what I think
of that. Yeah.
Just saying what's a possibility. Yeah. But I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. I mean,
that's the thing. Like, a lot of the great women's talents under contract at this point.
So assuming that we're getting Jordan Grace, I could see as a surprise.
Don't say it. Don't fucking say Tessa Blanchard. Cause I was just about to say fucking Tessa Blanchard. You've already said like 8 names, Tom.
No, I wasn't gonna say her. You interrupting son of a bitch. Jesus God. Fucking knee jerk. Captain fucking knee jerk reaction. No, I wasn't gonna say Tessa Blanchard. Now I will. Just to spite you.
I just did. It's been stolen.
Calm down, Captain Knee Jerk. I was gonna say fucking Masha Slamovich or Tasha Steelz.
Masha would be a great pick.
Before I was so
Are they-
rudely
are they
interrupted.
Are they on
I would love
Independence?
to see-
Like,
No,
are they
they-
Independence?
No, they are signed.
Well,
they're
yes,
signed. They're signed to
both.
TNA, but
Okay.
but again, the working relationship that TNA has had with WWE, you know,
Yes.
that it's a possibility.
Yeah. Definitely.
Masha works all over. I would love to see Masha in the Rumble. I think that'd be great.
You know who?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, you know what? He's not contracted with TNA anymore. I would have said Speedball Mike Bailey.
Mother.
All right.
Santina Morella.
Stop it. That already happened, and I'm like, fucking
We're past that.
was no more worthless of an entrant than Kelly Kelly though. So
Ooh, she could be a surprise entrant.
That's
I
true.
hate Kelly Kelly.
Well, you may hate her, but it's possible.
In the pantheon of women who did jack
Blanchard
for
could.
the fucking business, Tessa Blanchard I think could be in it. But I think that you run. Again, I think that TKO is trying to keep their name kind of clean. And if Tessa Blanchard's in the Rumble, I think all that shit's going to be kicked back up again, which I don't think TNA would appreciate very much at this point either.
Well, she's back in TNA, so I mean, it's, you know.
Right, but like TNA is like super fucking like under the radar. If she comes up on the fucking Royal Rumble, like that's a big fucking deal. And
Yeah.
I think that shit would
People are
definitely
gonna
get
be
kicked
Googling
back
it.
up. And yeah, exactly. And like
I'm
the fucking
Googling.
sports media websites and everything's gonna be posting on Facebook. Major Royal Rumble name, racist. Click for more details. So I think that that's actually pretty far outside the scope. Speedball Mike Bailey, damn it, Poot. Poot, did you say a name yet?
Yeah, he said Speedball
Yes.
Mike Bailey.
That's
Okay.
he's not gonna be in the Vita Scott.
Christy Hemme.
That
Oh,
no.
God.
Again,
Still less Trish
worthless
Stratus.
Sonny.
you know what? You know what would be? She came to mind only because I saw a fucking quote from JR that said that she wanted to come and like live in his house and take care of him. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and he was like, "No thanks."
Who said that? Sonny?
Sonny.
Ew.
Oh,
Ew.
So, what about Medusa?
No.
Like, I feel like enough time has passed. And I feel like she was on good enough terms with
I don't think they
WWE.
make enough Geritol for that beef.
oh.
Wow, she's not that old, man.
Yeah, man, she is.
But I mean, she was probably on the outs with Vince. She might not be on the outs with H.
I don't see the. I don't think she has the desire to. I don't know.
Money creates a lot of desire.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
You think Melina could ever make another surprise entrance?
Well, probably her last one didn't go so badly. I'd appreciate that. I don't know that she needs to. I think last I saw she was in MLW, being a valet of sorts. So I think that'd be fine. I
Who
don't know.
didn't
Because,
say
like I
one?
said, yeah, Poot has not said one, and now we are saying all the names.
No, I said Trish Stratus, and I got talked over.
Yeah.
You did say Trish, yeah.
I said Trish.
Thinking.
I know that's a safe bet. It's a safe bet, and it's an obvious one and everything. But like, you guys threw out a lot of the. I just had the uphill battle of going last on this one, so I went well.
Well,
I have the answer. It's Ronda Rousey.
Please no. She just had a second baby girl, so no.
Why?
Because she's
Why
fucking
you not
terrible.
say
Stop
Ronda
it.
Rousey?
Stop
She's
it.
not.
Yes, she is. Stop it, Beef.
oh dear.
Listen, we don't have time to
Wow, I
argue
didn't
about
realize
this.
there was a lot of hate.
We don't have time. We don't have
Rowdy
time.
one.
I think it's just
Dude, it is
hate.
all. I love you, but it is almost 11 o'clock, man.
We don't have.
I'm
the time
like
to
falling
argue this
asleep.
now. Yeah, we can argue this next week.
I love you guys dearly, but I'm like sitting here falling asleep.
I love Rumble season. I love the speculation of Rumble season.
I do too, man. It's my favorite pay-per-view of the year, bar none.
It's like chocolate to me. I just love it.
Agreed.
And
take us home.
We're going home. Rumble season's here. We're going to eat lots of Rumble chocolate, and we're going to get Rumbles in our tumbles. That's it. 2025 Rumble in our tumble. Picks coming next week for all of us. Sponsors in the thing. All the guys are here. We're all here. Things are going good, and we're doing great. I love wrestling, and I love all these guys, and I love all of you. Have a good night. And remember what we said earlier, and keep it in your head. Why buy farmers when penis good?